A spike in COVID-19 cases causes Freeman Hospital to reopen its COVID unit.
City leaders invited to the White House to talk about the recent spike in crime. I'm Natalie Brand with the administration's plan to prevent more violence.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Joplin's Freeman Hospital is reopening its medical COVID-19 unit. This is KOAM News at 5. The unit closed back in March due to low patient numbers. Freeman doctors say despite that unit reopening, they are not concerned about capacity issues, but that this is not a good trend. Freeman currently has 41 patients in the COVID unit and says a vast majority are receiving oxygen. They encourage anyone who is still unvaccinated to get a vaccine. Mercy Hospital also recently turned its 4th floor ICU into a negative pressure room for COVID-19 patients. Now they can hold 24 patients in need of a ventilator. Mercy doctors worry they may soon reach capacity to care for COVID-19 patients.
We are seeing a return of COVID. Southwest Missouri has the dubious distinction of being the hotspot in the country. And Missouri has one of the lowest vaccination rates.
They add that in late May and early June, they were averaging about 3 COVID-19 patients in their ICU. Now they're averaging about 15 COVID patients in their ICU. Nick Kelly joins us. Not a bad day out there, Nick.
No, not too bad at all, Dal. Even though we had to trend the thermostat up a little bit, we enjoyed a quiet day overall, still looking partly to mostly sunny. From the east side of Joplin at 7th and Rangeline, I don't have anything on the radar network. We've been staying dry underneath partly to mostly sunny skies all day long. That being said, look at that severe thunderstorm watch up in Nebraska. No thunderstorms just yet, but we will get a complex of storms coming out of Nebraska, diving toward Kansas City, and there is a chance that some of those storms by tomorrow morning could try to clip some parts of the area. In the meantime, though, we're good for this evening. Most of us in the mid to upper 80s. That being said, the bump in the humidity has made it feel like we're in the lower to middle 90s across the area. Dow will drop back into the 70s overnight, and we'll time out the rain chances to come here in a bit.
Nick, thanks. Topping Nation Watch, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told the House committee he's open to a major shakeup to end what he's called the scourge of sexual assault in the military. The change, long resisted by the Pentagon, would give independent military lawyers, not military commanders, responsibility for handling those crimes. A group of bipartisan lawmakers recently introduced a bill to refer all serious crimes to independent lawyers. President Biden is announcing new steps to control gun violence as crime surges in the nation's cities. Reporter Natalie Brand explains the plan.
Across U.S. cities, big and small, there's rising concern over a spike in crime.
We can't sit in our homes and watch TV without gun violence.
The White House says homicides rose 30% last year, a trend the president called unacceptable.
Today, the Biden-Harris administration is announcing a comprehensive strategy to combat violent crime and gun violence that targets the crime itself, implements preventative measures that are proven to reduce violent crime and attacks root causes.
The Biden administration is laying out a plan to take aim at gun violence, announcing a new DOJ zero-tolerance policy in which the ATF will revoke licenses of gun dealers if they willfully violate gun laws.
The administration says the Treasury Department will also allow impacted communities to use funds from the recently passed American Rescue Plan to go towards law enforcement hiring, overtime, and prevention programs.
And the plan includes expanding summer programming and employment opportunities for teenagers and young adults.
We must get to the bottom of how these crimes are being committed.
Mayor Daniela Levine Cava of Miami-Dade County was one of the city leaders invited to the White House Wednesday to discuss strategies for stopping the violence.
Who knows the exact reasons, but we know that we can address it, and we must and we will.
The spike in crime has also become a tense political issue as the debate over police reform continues on Capitol Hill and in communities nationwide. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Under the new strategy, the Justice Department will also take aim at ghost guns or homemade guns and will launch strike forces to target illegal gun trafficking. The Supreme Court has sided with a Pennsylvania high school cheerleader, ruling she was wrongly suspended over a vulgar social media post. Then freshman Brandy Levy was off campus when she posted her profanity-laced rant after learning she did not make varsity cheerleading. Her coach got wind of it and suspended Brandy from the JV squad. The court said that violated Brandy's First Amendment right to free speech. The High Court said schools can restrict speech that would disrupt the school environment, such as threats or cyberbullying. U.S. authorities blocked access to dozens of news websites in Iran yesterday in a widespread crackdown on the country's media. The Justice Department says the sites were trying to spread disinformation among American voters. Iran called Washington's actions bullying and proof the U.S. doesn't really believe in free speech. Still ahead, getting set to set sail.
Cruising is set to officially relaunch in the U.S. this weekend. It's already underway here in Europe. I'm Wendy Gillette aboard the Celebrity Apex with what it's like as ships once again set sail.
And next in Health Watch, health officials see a severe shortage of blood donations. Topping Health Watch, every 2 seconds, someone in the U.S. needs blood, according to the Red Cross. But the U.S. is now experiencing a severe shortage with the reopening of the country in the pandemic. Reporter Danya Bacchus explains.
Courtney Kirkbride knows how important it is to donate blood.
I never miss my 8 weeks, and I've given over 50 units of blood in my lifetime.
There's an emergency need for her O negative blood. It's known as the universal donor because it can be given to patients of any blood type. But the Red Cross says there is less than half-day supply of type O blood and a critical shortage of other blood products.
The demand for blood has really skyrocketed.
Dr. Ross Heron says with pandemic restrictions lifting, the nation is seeing a historic need for blood. A rise in elective surgeries that had been postponed, more car accidents and other traumas, as well as an increase in organ transplants are depleting the nation's blood supply.
We've been collecting a lot of blood, but with the demand so high, the inventory that we have on hand has really plummeted to very low levels. And we have to get more donors in the door and have those units available for the patients who need them.
The Red Cross says they also need platelet donors. That's because platelets only stay on the shelf for 5 days.
If we don't have constant donations, then we quickly will get behind the 8 ball and not have enough for patients' needs. And in fact, we're constantly each day trying to stretch our platelet supply as much as we can.
Dr. Heron is urging old and new donors to give blood. Courtney is already planning her next appointment.
It always feels good to give blood. It's such an easy thing for me to do, and I know that it makes such a difference.
A difference that could save many lives. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Red Cross officials report a 10% rise in red cell demand from hospitals with trauma centers in 2021, more than 5 times the growth of other facilities that provide blood transfusions. Women who currently use hormonal birth control may have a higher risk of developing glaucoma. Canadian researchers say the overall risk is still low, but patients who experience vision changes should have their eyes examined. Marijuana use may be associated with increased risks of suicidal thoughts, plans, and attempts in young adults. A National Institutes of Health study found the association remained regardless whether the user was depressed, and the risks were greater for women than for men. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, our Pet Vet on Call.
Hi, I'm Dr. Eva Dudek from Parsons Pet Hospital. Coming up, we're going to talk about food aggression.
But first, we'll touch base on thunderstorm chances on the way and some of the summer heat, too. Forecast up next. Mother Nature does whatever she wants on a day where we expected the humidity to be a little bit low or certainly tolerable. it certainly turned into a muggy afternoon, and not to mention temperatures on the rise as well. It was nice that we had low humidity yesterday, along with highs in the lower to middle 80s, but after we started in the lower 60s this morning, we were certainly eager to jump back into the upper 80s for highs this afternoon. Looking ahead, we will be hot and humid again starting tomorrow and continuing into Friday. But for both Thursday and Friday, I've got some thunderstorm chances I'll be keeping an eye on, but definitely better rain chances that will continue through the course of the coming weekend. On the plus side, though, that will make sure temperatures don't stay hot for very long, at least through the extended forecast. 7th range line. We'll call it a partly to mostly sunny sky. It looks good. Probably won't feel as nice though when you step outside. 88 degrees with the south wind to 16. Keeping that dew point back at the all familiar territory of 70 degrees. That's why it feels like 93 outside in Joplin. Everyone's on the Missouri side is in the mid to upper 80s and mainly upper 80s across southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. Actually, we had Chanute and Fredonia almost pushing 90 degrees, but everyone's a little bit hotter than that. Pushing into the mid 90s is what it feels like thanks to these dew points back into the upper 60s and lower 70s. So we're definitely seeing that sticky and muggier air return as our humidity continues to climb back up. At least we will cool down some once we get past sunset. We'll go from 84 by 8 o'clock to 78 by midnight, at least into the mid 70s as we go into your Thursday morning. We've been sitting quiet all day long though, thankfully. The humidity hasn't resulted in any rain or storms under our partly to mostly sunny skies. But we're keeping an eye on thunderstorms, eager to get going across central parts of Nebraska. Those are forming ahead of a dry line, but for us, I'm watching this warm front that will make sure we go back into the 90s tomorrow, and this cold front, that is going to be a potent rainmaker for the coming weekend, not to mention the upper levels coming into play. While this upper ridge is trying to build back in, you see this little kink working across Colorado and Wyoming. That's also going to aid in those thunderstorms developing out in Nebraska. Let's see if they come into the forecast as we go through the overnight. This evening, though, we're looking pretty okay. We'll call it partly cloudy to mostly clear skies. It's going to be a warm evening before we drop back into the mid-70s by the morning drive. But here's 6 a.m. Most of what I'm seeing is keeping the thunderstorms around the Kansas City area and skirting just to our north and east, but there is a chance that some of those could clip us, so we need to keep an eye on that. Otherwise, can't rule out a few isolated showers or storms by tomorrow afternoon. But 74 in the morning, 87 by noon, highs pushing back near 93 degrees, rain or not, so it's going to be hot and humid for tomorrow. Then we got to watch for another potential cluster of thunderstorms that could try and clip parts of the area for Friday morning. But upper 70s to start Friday morning out, and even with some scattered storms for Friday afternoon, it's going to be hot and humid again with highs pushing back into the lower to middle 90s. 93 tomorrow, 94 for Friday, but as the rain chances really ramp up, we'll drop highs back to 85 on Saturday, mainly lower to middle 80s as we go through early next week. While that does feel nice now, all these rain chances will be sticking around as well.
But, you know, a bit of rain this time of year is not a bad thing, particularly when you intersperse some hot weather.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Nick. Businesses in Iola, Kansas are paying for kids to swim at the Iola pool free of charge. Outsiders Bar and Grill challenged other Iola businesses to contribute to the pool so kids could enjoy summer without worrying about money. Pool officials say this challenge helps area kids and the pool.
It's nice to see the community come and support us. It gives us busy days here. The kids enjoy seeing a lot of other kids. It's nice to see the pools actually filling.
Outsiders Bar and Grill started off the challenge by paying for 60 kids' passes. Coming up, cruises are set to launch from the U.S. again this weekend. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Dwayne Weber served in the U.S. Army from 1963 to 1966. The Carthage, Missouri native was stationed in Korea, and we salute Sergeant Dwayne Weber, a four-state hero.
Light me back up.
Topping Consumer Watch, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell says the central bank will not hike interest rates from ultra-low levels too quickly. Speaking before Congress, Powell says the Fed will look for evidence of actual inflation and not just fears of it. The central bank is also monitoring the employment picture, which is still lagging, but before making changes to its monetary policy. Cruising is set to officially relaunch in the U.S. when the Celebrity Edge departs from Fort Lauderdale, Florida this Saturday. Ships are already sailing from foreign ports. Celebrity was the first U.S.-based line to launch from Europe with the departure of the Apex this past weekend from Athens, Greece. Reporter Wendy Gillette was invited to sail for a special rate and takes us on board.
It's just so beautiful here today.
Martha and Paul Perlman from the Philadelphia area are aboard Celebrity Apex on its inaugural cruise in the Greek islands.
It's so fabulous.
They're celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary.
Because
the pandemic canceled 3 cruises the couple had planned. On this one, all passengers provided proof of vaccination, underwent a medical screening, and got a COVID test. Paul's first.
It was a little weird. Sitting in front of people and having that in a big open space, but it was not a big deal.
The process flagged 2 guests with COVID-19 earlier this month on a Celebrity cruise ship out of St. Martin. They were moved into isolation.
The cases were handled exactly as per protocol, and that's why there was no further issues. We followed the protocols and we proved that the protocols work.
Masks are required on the Apex unless you're drinking or eating, because that's what Greece mandates. When the Edge launches out of Florida on Saturday, the rules will be different.
We follow the US CDC guidelines. For fully vaccinated passengers, it is not a requirement to wear masks.
This past Sunday, Royal Caribbean launched a test cruise from Miami with mostly employees aboard. The CDC says companies that conduct a successful test voyage do not have to require passengers be vaccinated.
Cheers.
Lindsay and William Keogh from the Boston area are comfortable with the rules aboard Apex.
I feel safe, relaxed. I've barely thought about COVID beyond this conversation since we've been on this ship.
That's exactly what they wanted as they celebrate their honeymoon, delayed since October because of the coronavirus. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Mykonos, Greece.
The CDC's regulations for U.S. cruise ships leaving Florida are being downgraded to recommendations or guidelines. The change will happen next month after a judge sided with a lawsuit filed by the state of Florida challenging the rules. Final check of the forecast next. The CBS Evening News is next. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to hear more from Mercy Hospital officials about their recent push to get more people vaccinated. Plus, a Missouri judge says a voter-approved ballot measure to expand Medicaid is unconstitutional. And the USDA issues grants to 2 Southeast Kansas towns to modernize essential services. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. We're all motivated or maybe protective in our own ways. Well, today's question for our Pet Vet on Call comes from Judy, who adopted a rescue dog and doesn't know her history. She writes, how can we deal with or train a dog that is terrible food aggressive?
Well, if the food aggression is towards the other dog, that could be as simple as separating them when they eat, police the mealtime, and then immediately pick up the bowls and put them away. But if the aggression is towards you, then that can get a little hairy. There are different techniques for different situations for different dogs, and you can get a lot of helpful hints off the internet. There's several. However, if you do not talk dog well, you might want to recruit the help of a professional trainer, because that could get dangerous, especially if there's little children around.
Thanks for the question, Judy. We invite questions from anyone. If you have one, you just send it to petvet@koamtv.com. Dr. Eva Dudek from the Parsons Pet Hospital answers a different question every Wednesday on KOAM News at 5. You can also find answers to previous questions on our website. Now, our picks of the litter for the week from the Joplin Humane Society. We've chosen this adult male shepherd mix named Axel. And from the Southeast Kansas Humane Society, we've chosen a 4-year-old female greyhound named Arabella. If you're looking for a pet, remember to check out your local Humane Society. Arabella.
That's a good name for a dog.
Yeah, a little lyrical. The weather pretty nice.
Yeah, certainly looks nice outside, but unfortunately the heat and humidity, it is coming back for Thursday and Friday with highs almost pushing into the mid-90s. There's some thunderstorm chances. I want to keep an eye on storm chances for tomorrow morning and possibly tomorrow afternoon, but the rain chances continue to increase Thursday and Friday, and definitely through the weekend. We'll get a fresh look at those rain chances coming up at 6 now.
Thanks, Nick, and thank you for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. Of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. We'll see you then. Let's make it a great evening.